Hello, gracefully chosen community, and welcome to Foster My Stories, the achievement focused podcast for foster care, adoption, orphan, inclusive of underserved communities. I'm your host, Shalina Michelle Tate, and on today's Relate to You, I'm going to be highlighting gracefully chosen content you and your family can enjoy relative to foster, adoption, orphan, or underserved communities. If you are a new listener or returning, welcome and welcome back. I, more than anyone, understand that being related to any of the mentioned communities isn't always seen in a positive light. Therefore, this segment desires to celebrate the movies, public figures, and books that may better connect to your situation or understanding. So let's jump in. The Relate to You movie of July for me was a real tearjerker. 12 Mighty Orphans. Hunted by his mysterious past, a devoted high school football coach leads a scrawny team of orphans to the state championships during the Great Depression and inspires a broken nation along the way. It stars Robert Duvall. Maybe your parents or grandparents may know, as of 2018, has co-starred in 8 Oscar-winning acting performances alongside Gregory Peck for To Kill a Mockingbird, John Wayne for this movie called True Grit, Marlon Brando for The Godfather, Robert De Niro for The Godfather Part 2, and many, many others. It also stars Luke Wilson, who played the love interest for Elle Woods, that's Reese Witherspoon, in the Legally Blonde 1 and 2 franchise series. And that was, again, called 12 Mighty Orphans. Once again, it was a tearjerker for me, phenomenal movie. And I believe that you and your family will really enjoy this movie. Definitely hits home. And then your Relate to You public figure, because this is the month of July, is Alexander Hamilton. The United States First Secretary of Treasury was always tight-lipped about his upbringing, which he called the subject of the most humiliating criticism. That's his quote. But there's little doubt that it was a struggle. Born in 1755, and then some sources say 1757, on the Caribbean island of Nevis, Hamilton was the illegitimate son of a Scottish father and a French Huguenot mother who was still married to another man at the time. So Huguenots were French Protestants in the 16th and 17th centuries who followed the teachings of theologian John Calvin. They were persecuted by the French Catholic government during a violent period. Then they fled the country in the 17th century, creating Huguenot settlements all over Europe, in the United States, and Africa. His father abandoned the family when Hamilton was 10 years old, and his mother died from fever just a few years later, leaving Hamilton and his brother orphans. A cousin tapped to serve as the boy's guardian, later committed suicide, but by then the teenaged Hamilton had secured a job as a clerk at the import-export firm on St. Croix. His intellect impressed his managers, and in 1773, a group of local businessmen put up the money to send him to New York, where he studied at what would eventually become Columbia University. Once on the mainland, Hamilton delved into colonial politics and served as an aide-de-camp to General George Washington during the American Revolution, would go on to play a pivotal role in shaping the American political system before his death in 1804. He served as a delegate to the Constitutional Convention, authored many of the Federalist Papers, and helped establish the United States' first national bank. To learn more about Alexander Hamilton in a catchy way, I suggest checking out Lin-Manuel Miranda's Broadway production, Hamilton, which can also be streamed via Disney+. The youth today probably know all of the songs. I'm just now learning them. Hamilton is a Broadway production by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who just recently produced this phenomenal musical called In the Heights. But Hamilton is the story of American then, told by America now, featuring a score that blends hip-hop, jazz, R&B, and Broadway. Hamilton has taken the story of American founding father Alexander Hamilton and created a revolutionary movement in theater, a musical that has had profound impact on culture, politics, and education. Based on Ron Chernow's acclaimed biography, it has won Tony, Grammy, and Olivier Awards, the Pulitzer Prize for drama, and an unprecedented special citation from the Kennedy Center Honors. Phenomenal production, as is many and all of Miranda's work. Once again, that was Alexander Hamilton. He is the public figure appropriately for the month of July. And finally, the Relate to You book of July is called A Long Walk to Water by Linda Sue Park, the #1 bestseller in children's Africa books. New York Times best-selling novel is a powerful tale of perseverance and hope. The Newbery medalist Linda Sue Park, that's the author, interweaves the stories of 2 Sudanese children who overcome mortal dangers to improve their lives and the lives of others. A Long Walk to Water begins as 2 stories told in alternating sections about 2 11-year-olds in Sudan, a girl in 2008 and a boy in 1985. The girl, Naya, is fetching water from a pond that is 2 hours walk from her home. She makes 2 trips to the pond every day. A boy, Salva, becomes one of the lost boys of Sudan, refugees who cover the African continent on foot as they search for their families and for a safe place to stay. Enduring every hardship from loneliness to attack by armed rebels to contact with killer lions and crocodiles, Salva is a survivor, and his story goes on to intersect with Naya's in an astonishing and moving way. Clues in the word by Arthur Linda Sue Park and the real-life Salva Dut, on whom the novel is based and who went on to find water for South Sudan. July Relate to You book by Linda Sue Park. To recap, the Relate to You movie is 12 Mighty Orphans, starring veteran actor Robert Duvall and Luke Wilson. The Relate to You public figure is Alexander Hamilton, the U.S. first Secretary of Treasury. The Relate to You book is A Long Walk to Water, the true life Amazon bestseller for Linda Sue Park. If your upbringing, community service, or job connects you to the foster, adoption, orphan, or underserved communities, I would love to chat with you via the Foster My Stories Central Facebook page. If you are enjoying the Foster My Stories podcast, you can check out the latest content or send a gracefully chosen gift to someone you know from thechosenchildstore.com. And make sure to tune in next Wednesday at the new time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, via Red Circle Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Audible, Radio Public, and Google Podcast to listen to the community guest interview for Mr. Lee Carroll. And remember, as always, being fostered, adopted, orphaned, or underserved simply means you're gracefully chosen. Take care.